Welcome to Experts Unleashed, a podcast that aims to uncover how professionals and entrepreneurs transform their experience into income while making a positive impact in the world. I'm your host, Joel Irway, and over the past 4 years, I've helped entrepreneurs develop and launch their expert-based businesses to grow past 6 and 7 figures per year. Now, a professional expert serves their community through paid training, education, or service, and this podcast will show you how to design and execute your plan to become a 6 or 7 figure expert without a big team. So, let's get started. What's going on, experts? Joel Irway here with another episode of Experts Unleashed. And for anyone who is interested in the digital marketing field, whether that's becoming a digital marketer as your career, as your expertise, or just learning how to use digital marketing to grow your own company, you are going to want to pay attention to this interview that I just got off the horn with Mikael Dia. Now, Mikael is a digital marketing expert and founder of Funnellyx, which is a software company helping entrepreneurs and marketers convert traffic into more profit. Now, Mikael is passionate about helping entrepreneurs scale their business in a faster and more efficient way, and he's developed a simple visual tool for entrepreneurs and marketers to understand the numbers in their marketing at a glance in order to easily fix the holes and optimize what's working. So using this method, Mikael has scaled one of his businesses from $2,500 in revenue per month to $5,000 per day, and he has helped countless clients grow at a similar quick rate as well. So what was fascinating about this episode was Mikael and I, we share a lot of similarities, and he lives very close to where I am. He's in Toronto, and he's also a former engineer like myself. So we had a lot of interesting things to talk about and to compare stories. And so you're going to learn how Mikael actually has already built and sold a business, and he also raised venture capital money for another business which didn't go as planned. And so he's got a wide range of different business building experience. This is an absolutely fascinating interview, and you are going to love Mikael's story because it's very much, it can relate to all sorts of entrepreneurs and experts in their own right. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's episode. Mikael, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me here, buddy. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be here.
So let's start like we always do, man. Tell us a little bit about what you do right now, and then we'll kind of kick it back into rewind and figure out how you got there.
Sure. Yeah. So really what I really do is I build marketing funnels, and that's kind of my core skill. I run a software company called Funnellyx. What we do is we map funnels and help you analyze your funnels, because let's be honest, data and analytics is a big pain in the ass. Nobody really likes it, but it's necessary. If you really want to grow a business, you need to understand your numbers. You need to understand what's happening with your marketing. So Funnellyx is a tool that allows you to visualize how things happen through your funnel. So that's kind of my core business. I also have a secondary business, which I am the partner and CMO of that business, which is called iifym.com. It's in the nutrition and weight loss space. And in that whole business, that's around diets and, losing weight, meal plans, that kind of stuff. So those are kind of my two core businesses. But the amount of businesses that I've built beforehand, and the ones that succeeded, the ones that failed, we'll talk about all of them. And oh man, it's been a journey for sure, but that's what I do currently.
How long has Funnellyx been around? Let's start this conversation off with that story.
Sure. So Funnellyx actually, I started it, or I had the idea in 2013 for Funnellyx. Actually, I write a lot of notes. So I had a notebook here, and somewhere in here, this was back in 2013, I wrote Project Game Changer. That was the title of it back then. And, in 2013, when I was building funnels and I was really deep inside of the whole, how do you sell stuff online? How do you, how do you convert $1 into three? And I was consulting for a lot of different businesses. I recently sold a Mandarin language school through building funnels, and we acquired customers through funnels, and I was doing that consulting thing. And I had that idea of, why is there no tool out there that allows you to map your funnel very similar to how you do it on a whiteboard, with like, hey, here's my Facebook ad that goes to a landing page, and it goes to, that's how you map your funnels on a whiteboard on a piece of paper normally. Why is there no tool that allows me to draw out my funnel on a canvas and then hit a little switch that would now spit out the numbers and show me like how many people are going from this step to this step to this step? And what about people that are going this path, or is this path more profitable than this path? And that was my concept. That was the idea. And I was like, if I could have that tool, I could build any funnel, and I could make money, and I could know what's working, what's not. So fast forward to 2016. Yeah, about 2016, around August-ish 2016, I was running my agency. I started White Coat Digital, which was my marketing agency where we were building funnels. And I kept thinking about this idea, this tool. I was like, man, I really wish I had this. Like, it would be so awesome. So I decided to build it. I decided to hire a developer and just start going through the process of building the tool. So to be honest, we really started building the tool back in 2016, mid 2016. It really was a tool for myself. Like, it was by no means ready or anything like that. But at one point in 2017, I decided to stop my agency and shut that down. And one thing led to another. As I was, the tool was getting better and better, I didn't stop development on it. And in December of last year, December 2017, is when I was like, all right, I think this is good enough to put out to the public and see what people think. See if this idea that this project game changer that I'd written in my notebook in 2013 was something that other people actually cared about, or if I was just delusional and I thought it was my own thing. So I decided to launch it in December, and it's been an interesting ride ever since.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I reached out to you, is because you had written this post on social media that outlined the journey of this launch.
Yep.
Right? Can you give us the short of that?
Sure. So I launched December 7th, and I launched it as a freemium model. And at the beginning, so if you look at Funnellyx as a tool, and anyone who's listening, by the way, it's funnellyx.io if they want to just kind of have a look. But it's a mapping tool. First and foremost, it's like a drag and drop canvas. It's a mapping tool, right? And then the second layer is the analytics. Now you can track what's happening and whatnot. My original thought process was always, let's do this as a kind of typical SaaS, free trial, right into paid, after a 14-day trial or whatever. And as I was hanging out with a couple friends down in San Diego, do you know Scott Olford, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
your next door neighbor.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We spoke about that. He was my next door neighbor. Now he's a nomad living all over the world. But I was hanging out at one of his masterminds in San Diego, and I was showing the tool to a group of entrepreneurs, and they were like, "Yo, Mikael, this mapping tool is really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I get it, but it's just a mapping tool. Like, it's about the analytics, guys. That's what's cool." And they're like, yeah, it is cool, but like the mapping tool itself is really cool. So they're like, you should put out the mapping tool for free, make it the best mapping tool on the market, and then anyone who maps their funnels, they're going to want the analytics anyways. So upsell them that. So go towards the freemium model. I was like, that's pretty clever, and that's a pretty smart idea. So that's what I did. I decided to listen to those guys and go and launch this as a kind of more of a freemium model. So on December 7th is when we launched the free mapping tool. By this point, nobody even knew that an analytics tool was behind it. The analytics wasn't even ready, to be honest. It was just kind of still working its way through. And the way I decided to launch this was by giving people as much value as possible. So it was an ad going to a landing page. You can get access to this free mapping tool forever. The minute you got in, not only was it a cool tool, but we pushed you into our Facebook group. In the Facebook group, what we did there was provide as much value as possible, focused on building up myself as kind of the attractive character and the leader of this company, and showing the vision, showing sneak peeks into the analytics side of it, giving Facebook Lives and free content and doing classes. I put out some content in that group that really most people would be like, you should be charging for this, right? Like, I would give as much as I possibly could. And it built a massive amount of reciprocity. And I did that for 2 months. And the main reason I did it was because the analytics wasn't ready to launch and I didn't have anything else to do. To be completely honest, it's the only thing I could do while my developers were building out the analytics for us to launch. So on February 7th, literally exactly 2 months, I gave myself 2 months and I said, look, I'm not deviating from that timeline. Like, whether it's ready or not, we're launching a paid group of the analytics on February 7th. And I mean, all that reciprocity, all the value building, giving people value up front paid off. We did just over $208,000 in 48 hours when we opened cart. I closed the cart much sooner than I expected because I didn't really, my goal was to have like 100, 150 beta members. I didn't really want it to be big because I wasn't sure if the analytics was going to work the way it needed to. But 300 and something people joined in 48 hours. So I kind of had to close it really quickly. But it worked very well. So that's kind of the launch. That's how it happened.
That's awesome. So how much is the software? How much is the analytics side?
Yeah. So the way we decided to do it, because it was our first beta group, right? The way I decided to do it was to do a lifetime deal. And we did $495 lifetime. We're about to open up a new beta round very soon. It'll be a slightly higher price, but it's still going to be lifetime. And that's it. After this round, there is no more lifetime deals. It's literally going to be like your typical, monthly continuity. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I did a lifetime deal actually was this is me being completely honest and candid with you, is because I knew that if I went straight into the SaaS / like monthly recurring model, that there is no way people would have stuck for 10 months where it's the price, like they would have dropped off because the analytics isn't quite there yet. There's still a lot of integrations we need to keep building, and there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be developed in order to have that stick rate. So the way I saw it was, let's over deliver in terms of value. Let's look, lifetime deal, unlimited traffic, like you're with us for the long haul. And that's kind of how I positioned it. And that's why people jumped on it and were excited. But like, that's it. After this one, like it's going to a normal, you're going to have to pay based on traffic and based on monthly. And, we'll move to that normal model.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So for those who are listening right now, you may not be a digital marketer. You may not be familiar with the digital marketing world. So like this whole idea of online sales funnels, I mean, it's essentially you're driving traffic to some sort of either capture page or a sales page. And, you take them through different steps of either upsells, downsells, or, opting into an email. And then there could be email marketing sequences. But in simplistic terms, it's a conversion mechanism to, capture somebody's contact information and ultimately sell them a product. And what Mikaels' software does is it measures every single step along the way so you can make profitable, educated decisions with your funnels and your paid traffic.
Exactly. I mean, here's the way I always look at it is the holy grail of building an online business is being able to turn $1 of paid advertising, whether it's Facebook ads or Google ads or whatever, into profit, right? Once you're able to do that, once you're able to turn $1 into $3, now you can scale, you can keep going, right? The best way I like to look at it, and when I try to explain it to people who don't really understand funnels or don't really understand this online marketing game, is imagine you had a vending machine, a Coca-Cola vending machine in front of you. You go in and you put in your $1 and you press the Coke button. but a Coke doesn't come out. But instead, $3 comes back and gives you $3 back. At first, you're going to look at that $3 and be like, "Oh, what just happened?" And like you're gonna go and put another dollar just to see, right? And like, all right, let's put another dollar. And again, the Coke doesn't come out, but another $3 comes back. Now you're gonna put as many dollars as you possibly can. As long as it keeps feeding you that $3 back, you're just gonna keep going. And that's how I look at a conversion funnel. It's that machine that allows you to turn that $1 into $3. But when you open up the door, there's steps in order to make that happen. And most people are blind. They can't see what those steps are. They can't see how it's actually working and whether it's working or not. It's absolutely feasible and it absolutely does work, but you have to understand where are the break points and what do you need to fix. And, once you know that, then you can continuously optimize. And yeah, that's how I look at conversion funnels.
So we are a long way from where you came from in the world of engineering, right? You were a civil engineer. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
You were a civil engineer.
Mechanical?
I was mechanical.
Okay.
Yep. Take us back to when you were working as a civil engineer and you decided to take the leap of faith and leave that job or leave that career path.
I graduated in 2008, right? That was the year I graduated my undergrad, and I was commuting to a town just outside of Toronto. But with Toronto traffic, it would take me about 90 minutes in the morning. And then on the way home, it would take me about another 90 minutes. It was probably about 3 hours worth of commuting every single day. And I was miserable. I was sitting in front of my computer all day long, doing AutoCAD drawings every single day. And I did it for about 6 months straight. And even though when I was in school, I kind of knew that I didn't want to be an engineer, I just stuck with it. And I was just like, I don't know what else I'm going to do. So at least it's a good basis. That's what my parents kept telling me, right? It's a good base. Like if you're an engineer, you could do anything. It's like, okay, that's not how it really works. But thanks for the words of encouragement, Mom and Dad. But I was miserable. And I knew I kind of needed to do something different. And at the time, I was living with 2 roommates, and we decided to just, because, I don't know, we wanted to try something, we decided to start a t-shirt company. And one of us came up with a whole bunch of designs. It was really, really creative. We're like, you know what, let's do this. Let's just let's start this t-shirt business. And what we did was we printed off a whole bunch of t-shirts with all these different designs, and we sold out of them really fast, like through our friends, family, like everyone supporting us, people at school, etc. Like we sold out of them super fast. So we got a little cocky, and we're like, oh, this is easy. This business stuff. This is a piece of cake. Let's order a whole bunch more. So we ordered stacks. We had stacks of t-shirts in our condo. And it turns out that we sold to everybody we knew, and we didn't know how to sell to anybody else. Like we just had these stacks of t-shirts and no idea how to sell to strangers. And that's kind of the thing that led me down this path. I Googled how to sell online. And I don't know if you've ever Googled how to make money online before, but it could take you to a dark place of shit, to be honest, if I'm being blunt. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that pops up about, and then you start getting sold and hearing about, making money from your laptop and the lifestyle, the laptop lifestyle, and being able to work anywhere in the world. And here I am working this engineering job, hating my life. And I have this little dream of like having this t-shirt business. And then on this hand, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And then on this hand, it's like, oh, like look at this incredible life that these people portray. And it's like, so I just bought product after product. I learned about SEO. I learned about affiliate marketing. I learned about niche websites. I learned about PPC ads. I remember building my first affiliate marketing website, and it was called qualitysurvivalknives.com. My roommate had a whole bunch of survival knives, and I, for some reason, I don't know why, but anyways, I was like, oh, here was my thought process. Actually, this is back in around 2009 or 2010 or something like that. And remember in 2012 how the Mayan calendar was supposed to, like, it was supposed to be the end of the world, December 31st. So my thought process was as follows. I was like, okay, well, this whole SEO thing is a long-term game. I'm going to take pictures of all of these survival knives. I'm going to write these affiliate reviews on them, link to an affiliate. And since the end of the world is supposed to happen in 2012, according to the Mayans, there's definitely going to be an uptick in people searching for survival gear, right? So I was very strategic in that sense. So I went through the whole process. I took all the pictures. I wrote these incredible in-depth articles with keywords and all of that stuff. And then after like 3 months, I was like, oh, I don't have the patience for this. Like, this is going to take way too long. Like, I need to make money today. So I decided to spend $100 on AdWords. And I was like, let's just see what happens, right? I'll bid on these keywords that I just tried to optimize for. And I'm sure I'm going to get a great score because, these pages are very relevant and all of this stuff, right? I thought I was being super smart. A couple of days later, I get an email notification saying I had made a commission. I open up the email. It said $5.23. And I was so pumped up. I was so excited at the fact that I just made money. And then I open up my AdWords account and the entire $100 is gone. Like except for like a couple pennies.
Yeah.
So I went from being like extremely excited to being extremely bitter and upset because like I literally traded $100 for $5.23. That's how I was looking at it. But then after like a few hours of like, being angry at the fact that this just doesn't work and I got scammed and all of this stuff, I kind of came to my senses and realized, actually, I got a stranger to buy something from me. Like, okay, it cost me $100, but like some person who's never ever heard of me before came to my website and bought something, and I just got paid for it. I got a commission for it. So if I can find a way to flip those numbers, pay $5 and make $100, then I'm onto something. I'm just missing some pieces of the puzzle. So that was kind of the thing that aha moment that I had that made me realize that, oh man, this is possible. Like, there's something here. I haven't figured it out yet. And I was a long ways from figuring it out still. There's still many things that I tried before I actually made it work. But that was that moment where I was like, man, I could, this makes sense. There's something here.
Were you still working at the engineering firm at this point, or had you left?
I'd left the engineering firm. I decided actually to go back to school and do a master's of engineering. So I have a master's of engineering. And the reason...
You loved engineering so much when you were working there that you decided to go back and get...
So here is my thought process, right? First and foremost, I hated engineering so much to work as an engineer that I'd rather learn, like go back to school and have more freedom in my life. Because like by this stage, I know my professors. If I didn't show up that often, it wasn't a big deal and stuff like that. So I figured I'd have more freedom. And there was part of me, like the whole starting my t-shirt business kind of sparked something in the business world that I was excited about. My dad was a banker, and I kind of started enjoying business. So ultimately, my thought was, maybe I want to do an MBA. Maybe I want to transition towards doing a master's of business. But obviously, to do a master's of business, you need experience. So I thought to myself, I was like, well, what if I can stand out from all of the other applicants by having a master's of engineering? Because nobody else is going to have a master's of engineering. And then I won't have to work as an engineer. I can get a master's of engineering. Hopefully, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I graduate with my quality survival website anyways. But if I'm not, at least I have this master's of engineering so I can apply to business school and skip the 3 years or 4 years or however much time they ask for when you apply to business school. So that was my thought process. So I went back to school and focused on these little online websites and my t-shirt company while doing my classes on the side.
So that takes us to 2012-ish, right? Because you said...
No, it takes us to 2011.
2011. All right.
Yeah.
Right, because the Mayan calendar debacle or whatever.
Yeah.
That actually was a scam. The Mayan.
Yeah, it really was. That actually happened in 2012. My quality survival website was long gone before then. I don't even think I bought the domain for more than a year, even though I started in 2009 or 10 or something. So I wasn't that smart, you know.
What I love about your story, though, and you mentioned it with your t-shirt survival business, you said you could sell a crap ton to your friends and family, but selling to people who had no idea who you were was extremely, extremely difficult. And in this world of business, whether you're selling yourself as a consultant or an agency or a freelancer, right? It's like, yeah, your immediate network, great. Hopefully you can sell stuff. But like the real money is in, can you sell to somebody who has no idea who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, and that's how you really prove that you're growing a business and that your product or your service is something that people desire. And that's where marketing comes in. That's where sales comes in. That's where great product and customer service and client service comes in, right? And you can't skip that. Like, you can't just assume that, oh yeah, well, if I can just, like, false beliefs in that sense, like that's the worst. Like, never listen to what your mom thinks, because your mom's always going to say you're awesome. So don't listen to anybody's opinion but somebody who's willing to pull out their credit card, right? That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I learned that as well when I was doing my t-shirt business. Like, a lot of people, it's so funny how many people would say that, oh yeah, for sure. Like, once you print them, I'll for sure get one. And then sure enough, like, once you start, those people don't show up, right? So it's funny, like, I have no opinion ever other than when somebody, like, literally votes with their credit card. That's how I consider that their opinion's valid.
So let's go now to, okay, you made your first sale online, you lost $95, but you proved the concept that, like, okay, wow, I really can sell something online. You knew that there was opportunity there.
Yeah.
So tell me now, when was the first time that you turned a profit? Like, when you actually made a profit doing anything with this type of business?
So first time I did was in 2012 when I went to, so I lived in London. I moved to the UK. I moved in 2011, and we can, there was that between after this whole debacle, and I graduated my Master's of Engineering. I did go to London. I did do my MBA in the UK. And at the end of the MBA, I'd made friends with a guy who was also an entrepreneur. And randomly enough, actually, he was from Toronto as well. He had built and sold a currency brokerage firm here in the city and done very well. I think he sold it for close to $5 million or something like that, and done very well for himself. And he was doing his MBA, and he was doing it for the same kind of purpose, same reason as me. It was, yes, like, okay, you're going to learn a little bit, but it was more so about the networking and meeting new people and looking and figuring out what are the possible opportunities for next steps, right? The next step in his entrepreneurial journey. And I was kind of trying to find my way in that same format and that same path as well. So at the end of the MBA, and throughout the MBA, we were kind of just always spitballing ideas of what we could do. At the end of the MBA, he approached me. He's like, Mikael, I think I've got it. I know what we should work on. I was like, okay. He's like, let's start a Mandarin language school. I was like, what? What the hell are you talking about? And he's like, I've got it all figured out. Like, let's do it. And he's like, I was like, dude, I don't even speak Chinese. I've never even been to China. What am I going to do selling people Mandarin lessons? Like, I don't know anything about it. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. I've got the opportunity to license a curriculum from one of the biggest schools in China. They want to partner with us so that we can open up a campus in London. I'll figure out all of the logistics in terms of operations. I'll find a Chinese teacher who's going to be our head teacher, and she'll hire other people. I'll find where students are going to go. You just do the digital marketing side. Okay. You talk about digital marketing all the time. You talk about Russell Brunson and funnels and all this stuff to me all the time. You focus on that. You get us customers and I'll handle the rest. I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. Let's do it. So that was the first time we built up that school. I built the website. I started with Google Ads mostly because based on search and lowest hanging fruit. We created a funnel to capture leads, nurture those leads, and then push them into a sale. And within 3 months, we were doing £30,000 a month, and we sold for multiple six figures, close to $500,000, 8 months. Within 8 months, that school. So that was the first.
Within 8 months of launching.
Within 8 months of launching, we grew. It grew really quickly. So that was the first time that I. And it wasn't even the money too. Like it was the first time that I was like, this works. Like if I can do this for a Mandarin language school, like I could do this for anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really true, by the way. Like it went well, that one, but it doesn't always work out. Like I've launched many funnels that bombed completely. Right. So this one worked out and it did well, but like that's really the biggest thing that I got from that is that, man, I can do this again. Like I don't know anything about this market, so I can do this again. And I got really pumped up about that.
So the idea of selling a business has always fascinated me. My entrepreneurial venture has never been in that mindset. It's just been, okay, let me build my agency. Let me build. The only thing that I've ever read about selling a business is built to sell, right? Yeah. But I have no idea, like, really how to do it or how to find a potential buyer, right?
So we were lucky. Okay.
Was that your intent though? Like, did you build it to sell? Okay.
No. So here's what happened. Again, we were kind of lucky. We licensed this curriculum from this school in China, right? So we did all the work. It was our school in London. But the reality was myself and Colin, my business partner, we realized that like, all right, we have this campus here, but like it's so limited. It's a physical brick and mortar. You know, we can only host classes in the evening really because ultimately, you know, people aren't learning Chinese in the middle of the day. They're going after work, and that's who our market was. And it was just so limited. So what we really wanted to do was digitize the entire curriculum and start selling online, start selling, you know, online courses. But what ended up happening, we were growing so quickly, our London campus, like people were signing up a lot. The person that we licensed the curriculum from, the Chinese school in China, they didn't want that. They had no desire. China and the Western world, North America, UK, have a very, very different view of how the internet works and whatnot. And it wasn't something that they wanted. It wasn't something that they were interested in. And we basically gave them an ultimatum. We basically said to them, like, look, guys, there's like, this has limited potential. Online has unlimited potential. And we want to go towards, you know, we're not in this business to try and just have one little school in London. Like we want to see other opportunities here. So we were able to negotiate with them. So they're the ones who ended up buying us out. So we were lucky. It wasn't like, you know, we went down the path of finding a potential buyer. It wasn't like we built a funnel to find potential buyers for this school and sell to strangers. We sold to our immediate network in that particular case, right? They're the ones who we licensed the curriculum.
Makes sense. So what year was this?
This was 2000. So we exited that business 2013.
2013. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So between 2011 to 2013, you went from selling survival knives to then launching...
selling what survival knife, by the way?
Selling one survival knife to then going to business school and then partnering up with somebody who helped you launch a foreign language that you had never even spoken. And you sold that business for multiple six figures, $500,000 or £500,000.
Dollars, yeah.
$500,000. So now you must be like, how are you feeling after you sell this business? Like what you're on cloud nine? I mean, are you like balling out? What's going through your mind?
No. And it was mostly his idea. I was kind of new to this whole entrepreneur game. He was kind of my mentor, so he owned the majority of, like, it wasn't a 50-50 split or anything like that. For me, what I was on cloud nine in the sense that I figured out that I could do this. I figured out that there is this traditional path that I was on prior was never ever going to be the same again, right? The whole school and me working for somebody else and me, that's the thing that really drove me. Like, I now knew I had a skill and I had done something that I can replicate. I can do it again. And there's nothing that would stop me from, changing that. So that's really the biggest thing that changed for me. Was from that moment on, I made a decision to myself that I'm never getting a job ever, right? I'm going to build my path. And I never did. I've never had a job since. And that was the kind of more tipping point. Yeah, the money was nice. I got to pay off my student debt and all of that stuff, which was always nice to kind of get rid of. But it wasn't enough money for me to be like, woo, let's go. It was enough money for me to be like, wow, like, I can do this again. I can keep going down this path, and I'm officially, whatever that means, an entrepreneur, right? I don't think you're ever officially an entrepreneur. I don't even know what it really means, but I'm officially building my own projects. Let's put it that way.
Nice. So what's next? Like, what's next on the horizon here? So like, you pay off your student loan. Yeah.
So after we sold that business, we still saw a massive opportunity in the language space. Okay. We still realized that the entire process of finding a language teacher and taking language lessons was very, very difficult. This was right around, like, Uber was starting to pick up. The whole Airbnb movement was starting to pick up. We're starting to see this entry of marketplaces where there's the buyer and the seller on one platform. So what we decided to do was develop a software called Lingos, which was an app that connects language learners to language teachers. So think of it exactly like an Airbnb or an Uber. The language teacher creates their account, and then a language learner can search, I'm looking for language lessons, in person or online for Chinese or Mandarin or whatever, right? So that's what we started building. So we created that business, and we launched that business pretty much that year, the year that we exited Mandarin House, so 2013. And we partnered with a third person in that business. So it was myself, Colin, and another guy. And we raised quite a lot of money for that business, actually. It was a very unique business, very unique proposition, because the language space is very old school, right? Everything that happens in the language space is very much brick and beam, like schools, right? And here comes three guys, and three that have very unique skill set. It was, Colin, who's very much operations CEO mindset, myself, who's a lot more on the marketing side. And then we had my third partner, Simon, who was a lot more techie and a lot more technical on kind of more of a CTO side. So our team on paper looked incredible. It allowed us to raise money relatively quickly. And that's one thing I learned about raising money is not hard at all. Actually, it's very, very easy if you have a product that has a lot of potential and your team looks very, very credible, right? And that was our case, right? We had just built and sold a Mandarin language school. Our tech partner had built many businesses before. So we raised over the course of, I think in the first year, over the course of the entire business, we ended up raising around 650,000 pounds. This business failed, by the way. We ended up running out of runway in terms of money. And you'd think that, like, raising that kind of capital, 650,000 pounds is probably like $1.1 million or so, somewhere around there, maybe 1 million. you think raising that kind of capital is like you're for sure going to make it. No, it didn't work that way. I learned a lot with that business. So I ran that business. I was in London. I stayed in London until end of 2014. So before coming back to Toronto, I was there until the end of 2014. So I was working on lingos between basically when we exited Mandarin House, our Mandarin school, all the way till the end of 2014. I was always working on it even when I was here, but not as actively when I was in Toronto. I learned a couple of things about with running that business. Number one, partnerships. Partnerships are interesting. I mean, people get excited about ideas, and then you start to realize what ended up happening was the guy that I started the Mandarin school with, he kind of had another opportunity starting a coffee business. His coffee business is doing extremely well right now. He's doing awesome. But he decided, you know what, guys, I'm going to go down this path. But we had already raised money, by the way. So on paper, again, we're 3 co-founders. So we had raised a bunch of money, and he decided, all right, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to work this coffee business. And I no hard feelings there. Like, he's still a good friend of mine, and it was a decision he wanted to make and whatnot. But the dynamics between myself and the other partner weren't necessarily the best dynamics. And it was always this weird tension of like, who does what and how do we do it? And the amount of motivation wasn't always the same, yet we were all equal partners. And things started turning sour, and it just didn't really work very well as a partnership. And then stack on top of that building a marketplace as a business model is extremely difficult. Your margins are extremely small. It's all about mass. It's all about getting that critical mass of users, and it becomes tough, right? And then as the investors start noticing that, oh wait, the team that we invested in originally is deformed and not normal, like now it becomes harder to raise more money. And once you start going down that VC road, you kind of don't stop going down that VC road and start raising more and more and more money. But we ended up running out of runway and not having any more investors. By that point, I was back in Toronto already. So it kind of just went down. Like, when you're out of cash, what do? You kind of can't do anything anymore at that stage, right? Especially when no one is very, very motivated to keep growing the business. So yeah, that was while I was in London working on that business from 2013 all the way to end of 2014. I moved back to Toronto in 2014. And the biggest reason I moved back to Toronto was, number one, I got married with my wife. And then the software business that we were building, the marketplace, didn't really fulfill me. What I loved was funnels. What I loved was figuring out and solving that 1 to 3 puzzle, right? Once I solved it, that's what drove me. That's what got me excited. Running a software business in the language space, I don't learn languages. It's not something that I cared about, right? So being the CEO and being the driving force behind that business wasn't something that I wanted. But what I did want was to continue to help other businesses with their funnels, with their marketing, figuring out how can I help people with this thing that I've spent years and years and years learning about and applying. How can I help them? That was my kind of thought process. And when I came back to Toronto, that's when I decided to start my agency, White Coat Digital.
So before we get into the agency road, I want to focus on the VC aspect, because my whole world of entrepreneurship is not related to VC at all. I'm bootstrapped.
Nice.
And so I want to kind of learn a little bit more about the VC road. I understand, now you got investors and they've got stake in it. And like, what happens when, like, how did you close that down? Like, if you've got investors, like, and you said you ran out of money, like, how do you sever ties? Like, what happens?
Yeah, it's basically 650,000 pounds is gone. Like, obviously it was over the course of years, right?
Right.
So, like, they're always kept in the loop. You have now a board of directors, and you have to have director meetings every quarter, and they want to see the financial spreadsheets, and they want to see your projections, and you're accountable to a board of directors, right? So you're no longer running a business for yourself. You're running a business for this board of directors. It's funny, actually, when I look back on it, how much, not that we lied or anything like that, but how much you position things to make it look better than it actually really is, because you're about to present this to people who've given you a lot of money. You want them to feel like they've made a good decision, and things are moving forward, and we're progressing, and these features have been released, and all of these things. And in terms of winding it down, there's not much you can do other than be honest. Like, look, ultimately they're kept up to date. They know, they see the reports, they see what we're doing. A lot of them probably knew that it was coming, right? They could see that, okay, well, we're about to run out of runway. What's next? What's the next step for us to raise more money? If we've got to raise more money now. And the weird thing about raising capital is you're always looking at your kind of projection and thinking about my next pitch. Your business becomes raising capital as opposed to running your business.
Mm-hmm.
Every quarter or every 6 months, you're preparing for that next pitch. So you're preparing your pitch decks, and you're preparing your forecasts and your spreadsheets and all of this stuff. And then you're aligning your investors. And, first and foremost, we're going to go to very similar to how you do it when you're running a business. Guess who you go to first? Your current investors. Just like you would with a business, you go to your customers first, mm-hmm. in order to make more money. Well, you go to your current investors first, and you pitch them, and you say, hey guys, like, here's where we are. We need more capital for us to go here, and here's our plan, and etc. Right? And it just becomes this weird, I don't know. To me, it's not what entrepreneurship is. You end up having a job, right? You end up basically having a boss. Yeah, you have a little bit more leeway and freedom than you would if you worked a corporate job, but you still have a boss, and that boss is your board of directors. And I don't know, I'm never doing it again. Like, look, it's hard to say never, right? Because you never know, right? But I'm going to do everything I can to avoid it. The one thing I will say is, like, if you have something that can take off, it's always very nice to add an extra $1 million into the bank account so that you can fuel that fire and keep blowing it up. Especially if cash flow is tight. Yeah, you might be profitable month after month, but if you're really trying to grow, well, you're going to need resources from somewhere. So there are times where it's like, okay, we're already doing extremely well. Our valuation can be sky high. They're not going to kill us in terms of taking a big percentage of our business, but they're going to give us enough capital for us to really take this to the next level. Then it may be worth the option, right?
Yeah.
But if you're starting, it's not worth it. Like, bootstrap, do everything you can to get yourself to a point where you're building the biggest valuation possible. And then you can kind of look at your options in terms of pouring gasoline onto the fire. That's my biggest thing about VCs and raising capital.
It's a different beast, man. It's a completely different beast.
100%.
All right. So your language app is done. And
well, it wasn't fully, like, it wasn't done. I just moved back to Toronto, and that the third co-founder ended up becoming CEO, and there was still cash in the bank at this stage with that business, but I decided to come back to Toronto and start my agency. So it wasn't like it. I think we've officially closed the business probably around like September of 2017. That's when we officially kind of ran out of money and no more runway, and
of 2017. So this past year.
Yeah. So the whole business is like stayed alive for about 4 years.
Oh, wow.
It just ran out after that.
Cool. So, all right. So now you made the decision to start an agency, right? So like, why? Like, I know you've got this passion for marketing, but this is a whole other ball of wax versus software.
I didn't know that, right? I didn't realize what you just said about, like, this is a whole other ball game. I just, like I said, had this passion for marketing and this passion for building out funnels. And I saw that this is a way for me to get better. but at the same time, build something, grow a company of my own. That was a big thing as well for me, is like everything I had done before was with partners. This one, I wanted to kind of do it more on my own. I did bring on a partner and just to help me on the sales and sales side of the business, but it was mine. I felt like it was mine. And it was the one skill that I knew I could build a company out of, right? And it was something that I thought. I remember I attended an event, a mastermind in Dallas. And on that mastermind, he kind of drew this pyramid and he's like, if you want to make like the most amount of money is done for you services. The second most is done with you. And the third is do it yourself, right? So if you want the most amount of money, you go done for you services. So I was like, all right, fine, done for you services. That's what I'm going to do. Not thinking it through all the way and not realizing you have an agency, you know what it's like doing service-based work. It is
building other people's marketing funnels, building other people's businesses, right?
Yeah. So at first it was a lot of fun. It was actually, here's the funny thing. The agency itself, building the agency the first 18 months in terms of getting clients was actually really tough. We were having a hard time. We tried a bunch of different funnels for ourselves. And we tried everyone pitches you do a webinar to a one call close, or you do a 3-part video series and then you get an application, you do a close. And we tried all of those types of funnels. You generate leads and all of that stuff. And none of it worked. It really didn't work very well. It was a struggle to make that work. But when we did close clients, because it was just myself and my buddy Graham, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed working on our clients' businesses because it was me working with them. I was advising them, but okay, yes, I didn't really like doing the work for them, and because then they would blame you and they wouldn't even give their input. And they're like, "Oh, you're the expert," and it's like, "Oh, that's not how it works. You're the CEO. You know your market." Like, "Well, you're the expert. You do what you want." It's like, but ultimately, I loved having those one-on-one conversations. The funny thing is, we finally figured out the sales funnel.
How simple was it? I think I know where this is going.
It's just so simple. It was Facebook ad, 13-minute video, but then it's the sales process that actually changed everything for us. But Facebook ad, no opt-in, no email follow-ups. It's Facebook ad, video, fill out an application, right? That's it. We didn't do any complexity or anything like that. And then our sales process was a discovery call, 20-minute discovery call, qualify them on the discovery call, tell them the price range, send them a piece of homework after the discovery call so that they fill out a few questions. In that, you also mention again the price range so that it makes it not a sticker shock, and then a proposal presentation, screen share proposal presentation. That's how we close people. And that funnel, I'll be honest, if you're selling services, don't try anything else. Those 6 steps are all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook ad, video, application, discovery call, homework, proposal. Done. It will make you so much money. Okay. We figured that out. We skyrocketed. In 18 months, went from we probably did about 200 grand in the first 18 months. And then the second 18 months, we did over $1 million. It went poof, like this. Our confidence was through the roof. We were closing at higher price points because our calendar was full all the time. So we had that confidence of saying to you, well, if you aren't happy with the price, then I've got a full calendar. So we kind of, it just changed everything in terms of sales. But it made things worse in terms of everything else. We went way too fast. The joy that I had working on the clients' businesses now had to go away because I had to figure out how to grow my team, right? I had to figure out how to do the operations side. It was it's one of those things where you're building the conveyor belt, right? You're building each piece, and clients are going on and oh, you haven't built it yet. Somebody falls over to the front. Oh, let's keep going. And then somebody falls at the front. It's oh, crap, we got to keep going. We got to keep building the team, building the processes, building the steps. And it became a game of me becoming a manager as opposed to me being an entrepreneur and figuring out how to grow my business and advising clients on their funnels and their strategies, right? I was trying to find ways to remove myself, but it ended up me not having any sort of free time, any sort of freedom in my business. Yes, we were doing very well. We were doing well over $100,000 per month consistently at our peak, but I had no free time. This time last year, 2017, maybe 2 months ago this time, around end of February 2017 was probably one of my lowest points as an entrepreneur. We were doing well over $100,000 a month in sales. Our funnel was crushing it. But I remember I went to San Diego with my wife, and my daughter was 5 months old. We just had her. She was born in October. And it was our first trip as a family together. It was the first time we put her on a flight, and business was doing well. So I was like, let's go and, let's take 2 weeks off, right? Let's just go and enjoy it. We've got full staff. We're 9 full-time people over here. They can handle it. Everything's going to be just awesome, right? The entire 2 weeks, my wife and daughter walked by themselves up and down the beach every single day from morning to night. I was on Skype calls, on emails, just on phone calls, putting out fires, managing my team, having my customers, my clients say, well, the reason I hired you guys was because I wanted to work with you and not your team. And it was a nightmare. Like, even when I was at dinner, we would sit at dinner and I just, the stress was like oozing out of me that my wife kind of didn't even want to sit next to me because she was being stressed being next to me. And I'd lay in bed and all I was thinking about is the crap that I have to do the next day and all the things that are on my plate. And it was horrible, man. That trip was the day after that trip was the day I decided, I was like, no, I need more freedom. Like, this is not why I decided to be an entrepreneur. And growing an agency goes one of two ways. If you really want to scale an agency, I've come to realize that at least all of the successful agencies that I've seen, option one is that you niche very, very much. And you have one client, one system that you implement for that one client, and you do it like a conveyor belt, right? It's like everything's in place. Because you're replicating the same system for a local gym, you're doing it over and over and over again. You don't have to think. You don't have to have any sort of strategy. It's just you're churning people through, right? That's option number one that I've seen work very well. Option number two is you go down the road of working with bigger types of clients where now you can bring on staff, but like they're not giving you $50,000 and they're like, you got to make it for them or else they're like going bankrupt. Here's 50,000, work on this project. If it works, awesome. We're going to keep working with you. If it doesn't, then we just won't ever work with you again type of thing. Right. And that's kind of the path that I saw for this agency. And I may be wrong. I mean, you've run an agency much longer than I have. I was running it for 3 years, but either way, like that's what I saw. And as I kind of was picturing this, I was like, is this really what I want? Like, do I want to become a manager? Do I want to just have this business that I have literally, I'm not impacting people. I'm not really advising them, or I don't really care anymore at that stage. Do I really want to go to these big types of businesses to try and get them to? And the answer was no.
Did you have any done with you services there, or was it all done for you?
It was all done for you.
So it's fascinating because when I'm working with kind of like entrepreneurs just getting started, or they're like $5K a month and, they're really trying to scale, I teach them the same thing. It's like, okay, you want to put money in the bank, offer a done for you service, right? Because that's like the highest ticket price point. But that the agency route, I really believe that if you want to, I know a bunch of really successful agency owners, right? But you have to be a master at systems, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you can run. So like, okay, great. You're doing $100,000 plus a month, 6 figures a month for an agency. Most people would see that as successful. But the downside is, I'm assuming probably everything was custom, and that's probably when the wheels started to fall off. Yeah, because there's no cookie cutter, like no SOPSs, and so I feel you, man.
It was tough, man. And like the funny thing is too, we ran out of money very fast, right? Because when I came back from San Diego, from that trip with my wife, I made the decision. I told Graham, and I didn't tell my team just yet, but I did not long after, and I just made the decision, like, look, turn off the funnel. Like, that's it. Like, guys, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to run this type of business. So we instantly, having like our entire calendar full, to like no more leads coming, like very few people booking calls. So instantly our sales people are gone, right? They don't have anything else to do. We're not selling anymore. Sorry, we're not taking on any more clients. So they're gone. We have a full team of 9 people, and they were all being paid very well, right? I wasn't like cheaping out on them. We had a full team of 9 people. So my expenses were pretty high. And all of a sudden you have cash start dipping, expenses stay because we're still serving these clients and we still have contracts. So whenever I had the opportunity, I was like, okay, sorry guys, I got to let you go. We're bringing this down. So I'd cut 2 people. Now I'm 7, but like revenue is going down, expenses are still staying up. So money's going down. People who are just upset at the fact that we didn't have our shit together and wanted refunds, and lots of, it's like when shit hits the fan, it like just keeps going, right? So all of this stuff starts happening, and luckily everything's, you survive, right? That's the joys of being an entrepreneur. You pick yourself up and you try again, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not just about the money, because you can make a lot of money, but you're absolutely right. If you aren't able to systemize that delivery of that one service or 2 services, but it's a system and it's a conveyor belt, then it becomes extremely hard to scale. Like, you can scale sales, that's not a problem. The funnel can make that happen, but it becomes extremely hard to manage, right? And that's where it kind of fell.
So how long did it take for that to wrap up, the agency to close down? Like, when were you totally free from the agency?
October
of 2017.
Yeah, October of 2017 was when I was totally free of the agency. And I decided to stop selling in March. So it took about
6 months, 7 months or so.
6 months to wrap it up, and start shifting, like I wasn't going to, my clients obviously, trusted us. And so I was going to deliver on all of our contracts and the agreements and whatnot. But yeah, it took about 6 months to wrap it all up. It was 6 months of like, man, this can't happen any sooner. Like it was one of those. But it was all good, because ultimately I came to terms with it, right? It was a tough decision. It was a tough decision to decide to wrap this up. The toughest decision was that this team had stuck with me. They were working really hard on trying to put processes in place, and because obviously they could feel the heat and that all of the operations wasn't in line. So that was the hardest part, like letting go of my team and kind of telling them, like, look, sorry, I know you've been with me for a long time, but we've got to shut this down. But it allowed me to figure out what I was going to do over the 6 months. It allowed me to kind of regroup, figure out, how am I going to maintain cash flow? How am I going to, make sure that nothing, goes too south and whatnot? But also, how do I make sure that I keep paying myself, and I keep bringing in money and all of that stuff? And luckily, one of my first clients, and this is where, because I was working so much closer with the beginning and I had so much more fun, one of my clients was this nutrition business called ifym.com. And at the time, they were doing like $2,500 a month or something like that. And very quickly, when we built the funnel, and again, this was before I even had a team, it was like me and Graham building out the funnel. And we went from $2,500 a month to $5,000 a day. And they're just crushing it, right? They had a lot of organic traffic, and we just found ways to monetize it better and build out the funnels properly. And of course, like Anthony, who's now I've been business partners with for quite some time, 2.5 years or so, he was like, like this is amazing. Like, wow, $2,500 a month, $5,000 a day. This is incredible. So we ended up negotiating a deal where I have a percentage of the business, and I'm become partners and
Wait a
CMO of
minute.
the business.
All right. So then in October, and this is right when you started, so you were able to get free from that. And this is right when you launched your, or started coming up with the idea for Funnellyx.
Yeah, I mean, Funnellyx was in development since 2016. Basically, like it was already there. While our agency was growing, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to start investing in Funnellyx. I'm going to start investing in the development of the software because it's just going to help us, right? And one of the things that ended up happening during that 6-month time span was trying to figure out what is my next kind of business. Like, I was good with ifym.com. We were growing that business. I was making quite a bit of money there. And so I wasn't complaining in terms of cash flow, but I was still trying to figure out, okay, well, what's next? And we even considered, we actually made like about 20 grand off of this. But what we did was, myself and Graham, my partner with the agency, what we decided to do was like, okay, everybody talks about webinars and everybody talks about these 3-part video series and everybody talks about these ways to get high ticket clients. But like, if you're actually selling digital marketing services, there's nothing better than the system that we've been able to implement. And now that's through trial and error and testing. And so we actually created an entire course around that system, right? Specifically for agency owners, people who want to launch their agency and want to acquire clients. And we actually sold, we probably made about 20 grand on it, selling like $5,000 coaching packages, as well as like $1,000 to access the masterclass and stuff like that. But there was always something weird with it that sat wrong with me, which was, I'm basically keeping hush about like how shitty it is to grow an agency. I'm telling them, here's the system for you to scale your sales, and telling them how amazing it is and how great it is to like have an influx of clients for your done for you services. But I'm being quiet at the fact that once you have that, your life is going to be hell and you're not going to love it. So I don't know, something about that whole thing just didn't sit right with me. And and then, Funnellyx was kind of developing, and I saw so much more of an opportunity there. And I was like, it goes back to kind of the software side. And I was like, I don't want, I'll sell it like at a very low price. And, just if somebody wants that system, but not from a coaching standpoint, not from a, because it is still a great course and stuff. But that's when I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I was figuring it out, right? Over the 6 months, I was figuring it out. But then I decided, I'm going all in with Funnellyx.
So from a funnel standpoint, I'm going to disagree with you on the fact of like, I can't control what you internally think, like how you think it's wrong. You didn't feel right selling the scaling part when you didn't enjoy running the business.
Yeah.
Because like those are two, in my opinion, those are two completely separate skills. And
100%.
It's like
100%.
Operations side and sales side. I think there's a lot of people on the operations side who need help who could seriously benefit from that type of sales.
You're absolutely right. But here's how I look at businesses, right? I am not in the business of selling a product. I am in the business of taking somebody who has a specific pain or something that they want to achieve and helping them get to their mountaintop. And if your goal is to grow an agency, if that's who you are, if that's the mountaintop that you see, which is an agency that's running super smoothly and it's doing, it's making a bunch of money. Well, this one product is not going to help you get there. There's other steps, like you say, the operations side, creating systems, learning how to hire a team. All of that stuff is things that I would want to package or want to start putting in my value ladder. Because my goal is not to just help you go from like A to like now you now have a sales funnel and you're getting a bunch of leads and you're closing those clients, because it's going to provide a deficit somewhere else, which is shit. I don't have the team to service these clients, or I don't have the systems in place to fulfill that. So if you really want to grow your business, if you really want to be bigger, it's about taking that person to their mountaintop. So what would be that next step? If I really wanted that to be my next venture that I would spend the next 3-5 years on, the next project, it can't just end at this, here's a system, right? Because that's not what motivates me. I want to create impact. And that's the only reason. I felt like I was leaving people short. It's like, here's the system, I'm going to coach you. But once you have that system, once you're getting leads, like, don't talk to me. I'm out. Like, you got to go find somebody else to help you. And I didn't want that. I didn't want to feel like that. I wanted to feel like whoever I help, I'm helping them ascend wherever they want to be. I'm helping them along the way. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't use that system. You should. If you're going to grow an agency, it's the best system possible. But just know that I'm not the person to kind of help you implement the rest and whatnot.
What were the funnel numbers? Like, if you put $1 in, what were you getting back out in?
So we were selling packages anywhere from 25,000 to 50,000 at our peak when we were doing our funnels.
25 to 50 grand.
25 to 50 grand. And that also causes, like, when people pay that kind of money on the operations side, shit better be like super dialed in, right? So that didn't help either. But it just showed that our funnel worked very, very well. But we were doing about $95-ish per application, $95 to $100 per application. So Facebook ad to people watching the video to filling out an application was about $95.
It cost $95.
It cost $95, right? And then 50 or so percent, maybe a little bit more, 53-ish percent would show up on that actual first call, okay? Discovery call. Now, it varied in terms of how many, because we were very deliberate. It was a 20-minute discovery call, and it was a qualifying call. Part of that qualification was, can you afford $20,000, right? And it was also very much like we were very distinct as to who we would work with and who we wouldn't. So like you had to be selling your product consistently. You had to have testimonials. You had to have traffic already, like showing on. So we weren't working with people who had never sold their product, who weren't,
right.
So a lot of people wouldn't qualify, but overall, what ended up happening was we converted about $1 into 16. That was our average with that funnel.
Nice.
That's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's not bad at all. I think most people would take that.
I think most people would take that too.
When you're running a big agency, though, you kind of need those numbers
You need those numbers because, I mean, that's just advertising. Like, my team was costing me, probably on average, my team was costing me, each employee was like, we were 9, and I would say probably around $5,000 a month each. Like, maybe a couple were less, like more on the $3,500 a month mark. But, costs start adding up. That's not including advertising. That's not including all the software. That's not including, office and, anything like that. That's literally your team and advertising. And already you're sitting at $70,000 a month. So things add up very, very quickly.
Well, dude, man, we went through the entire journey, which was very valuable. I mean, like, so the whole goal of this podcast is to show people like the different possibilities of what's out there, and we showed the good, we showed the bad.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I think knowing that, like, if you want to get to $100,000 a month, like, you can do it relatively quickly once you get things dialed in with a service-based model, because you can charge the price points that warrant it, right? And however, the downside is you better have your operations set, right? Or
dialed in.
The other alternative too is you be okay with maybe $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 a month, and maybe it's just you, and you just work with 1 or 2 clients. Because I know a lot of people that do that too, and now you don't have to worry about the stress of a team. Because you were talking about that San Diego story. I was in a similar situation. I mean, because of really growing an agency, and I won't go into it because this podcast isn't about me. But believe me, man, I feel you.
I'm curious. I want to hear it. We can maybe chat about it afterwards because look, it's all about the life that you want, right? Like, as entrepreneurs, we have made the decision to not follow the norm. We have made the decision to create our own path. We are the ones who are in control of our own destiny. And at the end of the day, it's up to you. Like, what makes you happy? It's your life, right? If freedom is a lot more important than profit. If you want to be able to work only 10 hours a week, but like make enough money to kind of live your life and be happy, then that's totally cool. It's your choice. You're the entrepreneur, right? If you're looking to make a lot more money and you love having a team and you love working 24/7, hey, guess what? It's your choice. You're the entrepreneur. So you have to decide what you want out of life and what you want out of this journey. I personally want a balance. I want to balance my core 4 things. There's 4 things that really motivate me. There's 4 things that I look at as an entrepreneur, and that's profit. I want to make a boatload of money. I want to have an impact on the people that I serve, the market that I actually enter. I want to make sure that they know my business. I want to create massive freedom with that profit. So that balance, right? It's very, very important. And third is I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel fulfillment every single day when I wake up, that I love what I do. I love what I'm doing. I'm excited about my day. And if I have anything to do that doesn't fulfill me, I'm going to do everything in my power to get it done by somebody else, delegate it. So those are my 4 kind of pillars about when it comes to entrepreneurship, but it may not be everybody's pillars, right? Some people might not care about freedom and just want only profit. So it's up to you.
Well, Mikael, man, I had a blast. I mean, I love hearing these stories. There's so many valuable lessons that you shared. You sold a business, you had a venture capital business that didn't pan out.
Yeah.
Grew an agency to multiple 7 figures, or at least I don't know if it hit multiple 7 figures, but you said it did $1 million in.
Yeah, it did over $1 million. And I decided to go downwards with it. And that one, see, the funny thing is, the first one, we didn't choose to we just ran out of money. We ran out of runway. This one, it was a conscious decision of like, no, we're burning this down to the ground. And then now with Funnellyx, this one is different. It feels different than anything I've ever done before, mostly because it fulfills my 4 things. It does create a lot of freedom for me, and but also the impact that it's going to have in the marketplace is what kind of really drives me. I think it's going to be a really cool tool that a lot of people are going to use. I hope a lot of people are going to use. Let's put it that way.
That's awesome, dude. So listen, man, drop some links. Where can people connect with you and, follow what you're doing, because you're doing some amazing things.
Yeah. The best place is just to go to funnellyx.io, create your free mapping tool account. It's completely free. If you want the analytics, cool. It's there right now. We're in beta. Don't forget, the lifetime deal is gone very soon. But when you join that, you'll also be invited to our Funnellyx Facebook group. There's so much awesome stuff happening in that Facebook group. We have a lot of cool content and whatnot. So that's really the best way. Otherwise, hit me up on Facebook.
Perfect. I'm registering right now.
There you go.
As we speak.
There's enough right away, so you'll hear my voice in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, so this was a blast, man. And if you're listening right now, like, please go follow Mikael and connect with him. Sign up for Funnellyx. I mean, if you're in the digital marketing space, I mean, even just learning about marketing in general, like, no matter where you are in the business world, you have to think like a marketer. I mean, that's one of the things that I preach. Like, you have to think like a marketer. Otherwise, you're just going to be stagnant. You're not going to really know what on earth you're doing. And I hope you're successful, but you have to think like a marketer. And I know that this is a key tool to really help you out. So anything that we left out that you wanted to make sure that we mentioned before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered quite a lot in terms of the journey and stuff. The only thing I want to mention is I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time, and this has been a blast.
Yeah, man. So we'll wrap up today's episode. And for all of you listening right now, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you on the next one. Take care. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. Now, if you want additional trainings and content outside of the podcast, I release exclusive video trainings on my Experts Unleashed YouTube channel. And if you'd like to come hang out with thousands of other fellow experts, join our Facebook group community where we do hangouts and webinars to help support you in your journey. Finally, if you'd like my personal help to develop, launch, or scale your business, contact me directly for private consulting opportunities to see if any spots are available. And you can find all of the information above at expertsunleashed.com.